Welcome, Jared Easterling. How are you, my friend? How's everything
What's up,
going?
homie? Great, dude. Thanks for having me. It's been a pretty chill day. Um, did a couple things up at the kit upstairs in the studio, but it's been pretty relaxing. Thanks.
Perfect, perfect. So we're gonna have a couple drinks. Do a little bit of chatting, figure out where you
hmm
come from. I like the SJC shirt.
Thanks, brother.
It's awesome that you're wearing that too because Mike's actually gonna come on June 1st
Is
to
he really?
talk.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so it'll be really fun to talk to him. I mean, it's uh really cool because having Mike on is sort of like that thing of like, Lance. We used to go to that shop when we were like teenagers, so it's like really weird that it all morphed into this thing of like everyone's so involved and all the artists are so
Yeah.
cool, you know what I mean, and very laid back. So I really
Mhm.
appreciate you coming on too, because you know you have a busy schedule, man. I mean, Fit for a King and Wetzel, so it's really
Yeah.
cool to see you performing all the time. So how's that been lately? That's something different for everyone to hear.
Thanks. Yeah, just life in general, or like playing with Co versus Fit for a King.
Well, playing with right now because you've been playing shows right now, right? Because everything's pretty much
Yeah.
open for
Yeah.
you. So
So just like any musician who has been out of work for the past year, there's been that itch that we've been meaning to scratch. Like playing shows is, especially when it's taken away from you, you realize how much you miss it and how much you almost need it. So
yeah,
playing with Co Wetzel's definitely helped me out a lot. He's been a friend of mine for probably 5 or 6 years, so I've known him, but I never played live with him. And for those of y'all who don't know who he is, he's like a Texas like rock and roll artist. And it's definitely different than the metal I've been used to playing, but I still get to hit really hard, and it's pretty rock. It's not like your slow country like hitting soft kind of thing. So I still get to do my thing, but just not the same speed, I guess.
I get you. I get you. Yeah, man, you and Chris Priest from In Spirit have gotten me into country, and
Yeah,
it's Rustin Kelly and Wetzel is what I've been listening to. So
very sick.
those two I've been a little bit more up on. I still
Mhm.
haven't ventured out. I'm only taking requests from bands from people that'll tell me, or at least
Yeah.
in one, you know what I mean, that I'm like, oh, okay, they're playing it, so I'll give it a
hmm
go.
Yeah.
So for you, Jared, what were your past bands? Like, what's your rundown? What's your past like? And did you
Yeah.
wanna open one of these?
I think I would love to do that. What are you
Yeah, let's
starting
do.
with? I'll start with the same one.
What do you got over there? I forgot what magically appeared at your
So
house for
I've
streamers.
got
Yeah.
Soul Flight here.
Okay.
I've got the Kettlehead, the Agent.
Okay.
I had to protect these, by the way. Everyone that was coming over was like trying to steal these out. So no can do. This one is Cup Out.
Okay.
Cup Out. We've got War Helmet,
Let's start with
Bicycle.
War Helmet Bicycle.
I can do that. Start with a double IPA, he says. I also have the Citrus Days, but we'll get to that one.
Okay.
Shall we?
Yes, sir. Little ASMR.
Oh, such a good sound. It's a triggering sound. Oh
Oh,
man,
look
that's
at that.
good. I've done this a time or two, if you can tell.
That's a good pour, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh man. Wonderful. Oh yeah, it's good.
They chill up nice. Perfect. There we go. That'll be
Oh
the sip clip. We're gonna have to start doing sip
yeah.
clips.
Oh man, I love it.
So,
But yeah, you were asking about earlier bands. So I've honestly not played for many bands. Fortunately for me, I played in two bands before Fit for a King started. I
okay.
started Fit for a King when I was 17 in high school,
Jesus.
and yeah, I'm still playing Fit for a King. So um, it's been a long run. It's been super fun. But before Fit for a King, I played in a band. The first band ever was called Dying to Self. Just it was me, two buddies of mine. It was a bass player and a guitarist. Um, they were the people who liked metal before. I didn't really like listen to metal before that. They were just friends of mine and they knew I played drums. I had just gotten a drum kit. I was on the drum line in middle school. So I
Really?
learned how to like, hold the sticks traditional, like one stick is like sideways basically. And yeah, just I was pretty good at that sort of stuff. But playing the drum set is a lot different because you're using not just two of your limbs, but using all four at the same time. And your brain telling four things to happen at once is kind of I'm a mind freak, so but yeah, I was in Dying to Self with them, and we were like, I'm trying to think of what genre that would be, like more old school. I mean, not Pantera, but like I guess more in that world. And then that lasted for maybe a year.
Okay.
And then the guitar player and I started a new band called True Vine. And that was more like Hawthorne Heights meets like Seosin, or like more like emo to like, it still had some shred in it, but it was still more the emo rock vibe. And then after that, we started Fit for a King not long after.
Okay, so like those two bands that you played with first, what were the local? Did you have local shows down there in Texas? So like, is
Yeah. So
what were
down here,
those like?
down here in Texas, it's the Bible Belt. I'm from East Texas in a town called Tyler.
Okay.
And yeah, Tyler was definitely like a Bible Belt. So there weren't many music venues to play in general. We played a bunch of churches, right? I played in the praise band at church for a while. And so I made a connection with our youth pastor, and like a friend's band was friends with his youth pastor at their church. So we'd play a lot of places like that. It wasn't super professional by any means, but it was like, back then you're not trying to make a living doing it. You just enjoy playing your instrument. So you'll play kind of wherever we'll let you play. Yeah, a lot of churches, a lot of like weird rec centers and stuff like that. No actual music venues. I think the first place we ever played was this like a gym. It was like part of a church, was like their gym. And it kind of came full circle, super weird, but Under Oath actually came to this same place probably 8 years after that happened. Do you know what I mean? So
Okay.
kind of weird. It was like a warehouse. It was super strange seeing Under Oath there. But yeah, the first place I ever played was like this super warehouse gym place. I don't know. It was weird.
That's pretty cool, man. That's kind of the same around here. We had a lot of YMCA's, VFWs,
Yeah.
and the major venue, the big time. We've talked about it on past episodes, but the big time venue you wanted to play in Boston was called the ICC Church, and
Okay.
it was an actual legit church in the rec hall that was next door. It was supposed to hold like 150 people, but I'm pretty sure we fit like 750, 800 in that thing. So it was like
Right.
definitely not up to code and not safe, but like it was a crazy time. Like thinking back on those, you think about,
Yeah.
I'm sure even your time thinking back on when you first started picking up and Fit for a King. So like, what was that like? So that was formed in 2007, you said, right?
Yeah. In
And then,
September of 07, yeah.
yeah. And then like in, what was it, 09, you guys started doing like a full-time touring. And then like 10 is when Kirby came in. So like,
Mm-hmm.
in 07, what was the motivation? Was it just let's start this band and just play, or was it setting out with the goal of becoming something? Like, did you know
Yeah,
already you wanted to do music? I'm pretty much.
I just enjoyed it. It wasn't like I never set a goal to do this full time. The
Well,
the
that's cool.
realization that came, like what you're asking for, like what was the realization when we transferred from, we'll just play music, we'll enjoy this, we're friends. Like we all Fit for King in the very beginning, we were just buddies that hung out every day anyways.
Okay.
So there was not like none of us had a goal until 2009. That's when all of us were jumping from high school to college. And we each did, I think, 2 semesters, 1 or 2 semesters. And then our singer at the time, before Kirby joined, his name was Mason. Mason came and approached me. I don't know if he approached anyone else first, but he said, "Hey, let's not go to college again next semester and let's go on tour." And at the time, like we had played outside of Texas, but it was like the edge of Louisiana, or like maybe in Oklahoma, like places that were within a few hours from where we were from. So had mixed emotions. One side was like, okay, like I don't enjoy going to school right now. I didn't really have a passion for, basically getting my basics out of the way. But that just felt like what I was supposed to do, right? Like that's what you do. You go to high school and you go to college.
Yep.
I'm jealous. A lot of people, when they graduate high school, they know what they want to do. They're confident in it. They like the field that they're going into. I never had that. I was always good at music, and it was fun. It didn't seem like work to me. I'm sure a lot of people are like that, but I guess I was a little more fortunate with how, like, looking back on it, like I became, or Fit for King became something to where it was able to provide a means of living. But yeah, that's when our vocalists at the time said, hey, let's not go to school. Let's go on tour. And the tours were not good. It's kind of like what you just mentioned with your scene. It was like a lot of VFW halls, a lot of places like that. And it was just a grind for the longest time. And I don't feel like in my brain, I thought, okay, let's do this for a living until probably 2011. Like when I say do this for a living, let's actually try to do this and be professional, have professional photos, and like, let's try to write a full album and talk to record labels. That train of thought hadn't even entered my mind until probably 2011, maybe late 2010.
Really? So what was that? What was that first tour like?
Which one?
The 2009 where you just said like let's go, like what were those VFW shows like? Did you run into like, because I feel like it's there's this game 7 Degrees to Kevin Bacon, and it's like you can always pick movies and somehow end up finding a movie that Kevin Bacon's in that someone else is in. So it's a really fun game to play, but it's like I feel like bands you can do that with, because I don't know how many people now have been on here and like talked about some. I mean, yesterday's episode with Umbra Vitae is that's Jake Bannon from Converge's other band that he has, and Mike's talking about when he was in the Red Chord, they played with Corey Taylor from Slipknot when they were like, so like it blows your mind that people that you've run into in your lifetime may have a connection to someone else, or you might have grown up in an area where someone became ridiculously famous that you never thought you'd ever see.
Would blow up.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who I know like that. I don't think I know anyone personally, or like even played shows with that's made it to like that tier. Maybe the closest thing, I never met him, but I mean, Post Malone is from our area.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's from Dallas. I'm in Fort Worth right now, close to Dallas. I think he's from the Dallas area, and he's really close with the Crown the Empire guys.
Oh, really?
Pretty sure the story is he tried out for the band and didn't make it. I don't know the real story. This is what's been passed down to me. But tried out for Crown the Empire and didn't make it. Still friends with the guys, but that probably ended up being the best thing to happen to him, right?
Yeah, no kidding, right? If we didn't have Posty, that'd be, I feel like everyone would feel like that's a travesty. You know what I mean?
1,000%.
Oh yeah. So who were some of your local influences to start playing music live? Did you have anybody in the area that was like maybe older than you that was in a band that was, you were like, oh, what do you mean you guys play shows? Or did you have anything like that?
Are you familiar with Tooth and Nail Records?
Yes.
There was a band that was on Tooth and Nail that got signed probably 5 years before Fit for a King, maybe even a little longer, called Ivory Line.
Okay.
You heard of them or no?
I've heard the name. I've never heard the music, but I've heard the name.
They were the hot band in our area when I was growing up, probably in middle school or early high school.
Okay.
And they just seem to have that it factor. I feel like any local band has someone like that to look up to, or a band that like seems hot at the time. And they got signed, and I thought, because I grew up on Tooth and Nail and Solid State bands. I mean, Fit for a King is signed to Solid State now, but I thought, how is that possible? I thought it was so unattainable that a band could get signed to Tooth and Nail or Solid State. But when they got signed, I was jealous isn't the right word. I just couldn't even believe it. I thought they were a great band. I just, like I said, thought it was so far out of reach. But when they got signed to Tooth and Nail, it kind of like brought it into perspective. Okay, like this is possible. Like this would be amazing to not follow them, but like to be able to attain something like that.
So that's really cool. You saw that there was value in what you were putting your effort into, that you were like, oh, if I'm going to become an even better drummer, I want to play this live, and I want to play this in front of
Yeah.
a lot of people, or maybe even be on a label. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So there's no fault in that. So like,
Mm-hmm.
um, who are who? So drumming. Who are some famous influences for you? Are there some drummers that like people wouldn't even guess, or some influences for you?
Um, yeah, one of my biggest is Alex Rodriguez from Seosin.
Really?
Yeah, he's a massive influence of mine. I just loved how he's way too busy. Like if you were to like have a producer hear them for the first time, he'd be like, "Yeah, the drums need to come down a lot because they're more of like a post-hardcore rock, alternative rock. I don't know even know what you call them, punk rock, but they you typically don't have drums that are going that crazy. It's more straightforward. But their band, he did a bunch of cool stuff, even like from the earliest albums that they put out. I'm pretty sure the first album was a studio drummer.
Yeah, he was
But
the
then Alex,
drum tech for Slayer, I think.
is that who it
I think
is?
that's who was on the EP, the Seoshin EP.
Yeah. I mean, it's stupid how good all the drums are. I mean, some of the stuff I probably can't even play now still. You know what I mean? That was put out in
Wow.
2003 or something. Maybe if I tried, I could. But just listening to it, I'm like, holy smokes, this is like it's very impressive. But yeah, he Alex's style and even the guy from the drum tech of Slayer's style, he a lot of fast hands, like hand work, if you will, but there's not a lot of crazy footwork. So my footwork came later on. I just wanted to have really fast hands and do stuff that was impressive with the top of the kit versus the kick drum. I liked Alex Rodriguez a lot from Seosin. Um, I was really big into Census Fail.
Okay.
I don't even know what the drummer's name is, but he definitely was an influence on me. I was big into Jordan Mancino of As I Lay Dying.
Okay. Yeah, that was watching him drum live was an experience. So like the first time I ever watched As I Lay Dying live was with Kill Switch Engage and I want to say In Flames, and As I Lay Dying was the opener. And just watching him drum when I was like 17 years old, I was like, how is this possible?
I don't know, dude. I mean, we toured with him this last year, or I guess it was 19 now. Um, it's still just as ridiculous. He's like just the stocky, probably like 5'10", just like massive beard, and just like you said, hits so hard. Um, yeah, I don't know. I was still just as impressed, even though I've been a fan of theirs for 10 plus years.
That's awesome. So like
Yeah.
as someone who doesn't play drums, what is the like with double bass? What is the I watched 9 million people do it and I still don't understand the concept. People are like, "Oh, you got to like roll your foot like as you bring it to," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that makes total sense."
Everyone has different
Like,
styles. Like what could feel natural to you
mhm.
may not feel natural to me, and a lot of that is who you listen to growing up. So you like try to play their stuff and you develop this technique. Another part is just anatomically how we're built. Maybe
Okay.
something wouldn't work for you that would work for me.
That makes a lot of
Um,
sense.
I can't really play as fast as Jordan. I feel like when I was like 17 or 18, I was way faster because like I started to care about that. I would care about foot speed a lot more than now. Right now, I care about going fast, but like I care about hitting hard and fast. And there's like a threshold where you cannot really hit hard once you go past a certain tempo.
Okay.
And I got into my head. I remember watching this band called Gideon. Do you know who Gideon
Yes.
is?
Yes.
Yeah, Jake Smelly is I think he was the one who messed my head up when I would watch him play, and everything he would do is he would just hit so hard, and everything felt so crystal clear out front. A lot of stuff he didn't play was insanely fast on the kick drum, but it was like still impressive. But he would hit really hard, and like I was like, I want to be like that. I want to hit hard and then be very clean. And that I think that made my brain shift from going as fast as I can to like hitting hard and still having some speed.
Well, I've enjoyed your change ups throughout the albums for Fit for a King. So it seems like it was, you know, I don't want to say heavier at the start, but it seems like
Yeah.
you guys got more and more melodic as you became further and further along. So like I feel like your new album is super melodic and anthemy. Like I feel like a lot of those songs are things that you can help get you through a really crappy day. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
so it's really nice. I know that "Breaking the Mirror" is a ridiculously popular song, but listening to the lyrics and everything, and then hearing sort of like the chanty thud at the end, where everyone's like, "Oh, this is gonna be a breakdown. This is gonna be great. Everyone's gonna get real happy."
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
what is that like for you as the musician, playing songs that are sort of anthemy? Are those like sort of your favorite things to play?
Yeah. Well, like I said in the beginning, I come from bands that are melodic already
Mm-hmm.
and more upbeat versus like the heaviest thing you could ever think of. Even As Lay Dying, the version of them I listened to, like even the guitar parts, it was heavy, but it still like had a melodic vibe to it, like the guitar leads or something that you could hum back. You could hum it. It wasn't just so shred your face off that you can't hum back like a that's something that's too technical. I've always been a fan of that. And so it's been a work in progress with our guitarist. Our guitarist and Kirby. So Bobby, our guitar player, and
Okay.
Kirby, they're like the heavy guys. They love the heavy stuff, like Whitechapel and like uh Impending Doom and what's another good one? The Acacia Strain.
Oh, I
They
love
like
the
like
Acacia Strain.
see that it took a long time to grow on me. It's just to me, I didn't come up with that. Like I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even probably know who they were until Bobby and Kirby told me about them. But that's not natural for me.
Okay.
I come from, like I said, the more melodic side. So for me, I've been trying this whole time. Like I feel like we can do the melodic thing. I feel like we can do it. And I think it took a while for us to like find our niche
Mm-hmm.
in finding the melody in our music. But I think it's gotten better with each album.
Oh, I definitely agree. I think what's really cool is that you definitely sound different from other metalcore bands. You know what I mean? There
That's a question I'll ask you. What would you say separates us sound
I
wise?
think in this newest album, I think it's how melodic it is, because there haven't been a lot of albums that have had anything really anthemy, if and
Mm-hmm.
or things that you can listen to that are sort of uplifting. Most of the time, lyrics lately for most things have been pretty dark, impending doomy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I listen
Yeah.
to I listen to a wide array of things. Excuse me. The newest thing being country music, but like I love bands like the Acacia Strain, the Ghost Inside.
Mm-hmm.
I can go to things like Cryptopsy, or I can go listen to a bunch of things, but then again, I really love Circa Survive. I really love
I do
the
too.
Mars Volta. Like I really have a wide array that I listen to, but for this newest album, I feel like being that melodic is really really separating you from everybody else right now.
That's cool. I didn't know what other people thought of that. It's hard to know, like, 'cause when you write music, you think, okay, we can think this is the best thing ever, but it doesn't matter what we think. We're not the ones paying for it. We're not the ones investing time and our emotions into this. I mean, we are doing that when we write it, but we're not the one, like I said, paying for it or coming out to the
Right.
concerts to see it live. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool to hear you to say it's uplifting because that's the exact thing we wanted to go for with the new album. Before that, we wrote lyrics that were more, I mean, for the lack of a better conversation, emo. They're
Yeah.
like kind of depressing and like emotional, and talking about depression and anxiety and like
Mhm.
things that some of us have dealt with.
Mhm.
So they're real, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. But this last one is like talking about the God of victory, like the coming out of all that, like
Mhm.
the positivity from that. So it definitely was a shift lyrically as well.
It's really cool, especially watching Kirby when he streams on his Twitch. It's
Mm-hmm.
very cool, especially when he was going through recording vocals and he was doing tracks live on Twitch. It's very cool to see his process when he's doing vocals.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like sometimes people don't understand really where a vocalist has to do multiple takes or multiple layers to get that sound, whereas
Yeah.
people, when they see you live, they expect to hear you sound almost like that cartoon character with a lot of gain and distortion, and you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's like 8 layers of me screaming. You know what I mean? It's not just that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna sound a little different. But from what I've heard from like even YouTube live videos of you guys, you sound pretty awesome live. I haven't gotten to see you live yet, so I'm hoping with all this stuff changing right now that
Hmm.
my wife is really, she's every time we should look at tickets to Texas. We should look at tickets to Texas. And I'm like,
Yeah, you
that sounds
should.
like a great idea. That sounds like a great idea. So I think that for our anniversary, I think that's probably going to be our trip, is go down to
Down to
Texas. You know
Texas.
what I mean?
That's amazing.
But
Yeah,
so
we just got done playing with the country band with Wetzel. We just got done playing. We did like this minor league ballpark tour. We were having shows like that. We're in this baseball field. It was pretty crazy. So Texas is pretty wide open, and then we're about to head to Florida. I think it's the same thing over there. It's pretty everything, anything goes at this point, right?
anything goes at this point between the two states. It seems like, I mean, with all the things coming out today, with if you're vaccinated, you can go out and about now, and so things are
Mm,
opening up. It's very nice to see a light at the end of the tunnel. Um,
exactly.
yeah, and I feel like a lot of people now are starting to understand how important, and I bring this up every episode, community is. Um, when you had played in your local band, the only way to obtain those shows, I'm sure, was being part of your local community. It was more people oriented, whereas like, you know, you have all the division lately and things like that. So I feel like community is one of the things that I really would like to see come back post
Hmm.
pandemic. A lot more people being like, hey, you know, if you ever need anything or need a hand, let me know. I'll help you out or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
so for you, what are some of your favorite shows and venues you've played to date? Like starting from like when you first started touring all the way till now. Are there any things that like
Um,
really stick in your head? Like, is there like a local show that really meant a lot to you that was very small, all the way up until a stadium? You know what I mean? Like, is there anything
yeah,
like
that's
that?
good. That's a good question. Especially the different layers, different tiers. I'd say the first one was in Tyler, where I'm from. We played this venue called The Spot. I think it was just like it was a church, but it was a church in one of those like a warehouse storage unit, like different offices kind of thing. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about?
Yep.
It wasn't big, but I remember we played there, and this is probably our second time to play there. We were headlining this show, and we had never really gotten paid to play somewhere, like maybe like $50 gas or something like that they would give us to come play. But this show, that there ended up being a lot of people. There was like 200 or 300 people, and the venue gave us like, I forget what it was. It was like $2 a head or something like that that we just weren't even expecting.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, whoa, like okay, like this is kind of a lot of money for us. And that was outside of us selling t-shirts and whatnot. So to me, that was the first, when the promoter came up to me and handed me money, like we weren't even expecting that. So it was like that should tell you where our head was at. We weren't,
Yeah.
where's our money? We're playing the concert. You know what I mean? Like it was just, we were having fun. That was like an overwhelming thing, not only just to see people there and to see people like seeming to be into the music, but for us to get handed money afterwards, that was just kind of mind blowing at the time. That was probably the earliest stage of like favorite venue. I'm trying to think of the middle level. We played. Um, hmm. I don't want to say the wrong thing. um,
Take your time, man. It's always funny because there's
yeah.
like so many things probably that are going through your
Oh,
head where you're like, huh, which one?
you know what? We used to play. We only played this venue once, but to me, I should say it because of the timestamp and because of the position that we were in. We played this venue in Dallas. I can't even remember what it's called, but it's like you have to haul your equipment upstairs down this like up this like fire escape. It's kind of sketchy, but it was what is it called?
That slight
It's
description
like
sounded sketchy.
yeah, it was not cool. But when we got there, I don't know if the show sold out. I want to say it was like 350 capacity in Dallas, but it looked super packed and people knew the words, which is another level. Like because we were from Tyler at the time, we weren't
Mm-hmm.
from Dallas, so people knew the words. And afterwards, like everyone took a picture with us, and like it seemed like okay, like Dallas has accepted us as their own at this point,
Mm-hmm.
because at that point we had Bobby and Kirby in the band, and they were from the Dallas area. So it seemed okay, like we are accepted here. People are like claiming us as their hometown band now. So that was like a changing of the tide as well. Yeah, I can't remember what it was called. Like I said, we played there one time, but to me, it was like, it wasn't the best venue, but it was like a mark in our band's career. I want to say this was in 2010 at some time. And then I'll go one more. There's a place in Virginia called the Norva.
The
I want to say
Norva.
it's in Norfolk, Virginia. I can't remember exactly the town it's in, but the venue is super cool. Like the stage is awesome. It's big. It sounds awesome in that room. Which, when as a musician, when you're playing on stage, and if it sounds awesome, it's kind of strange to say, but different rooms give you different energy on stage. Even if the crowd's not good, sometimes it just feels great. The drums sound amazing. Sometimes it sounds terrible. And even if it's the same size room, there's a lot of variables that make it fun or not fun, or sound good or not good.
Okay.
But outside of all that, the green rooms, like the backstage area, there's like foosball table, there's like ping pong, TVs everywhere. There's a basketball court, a gym, there's a sauna, hot tubs.
What?
It's crazy. Every band that I know that's been there, and we say, have you played the Norvo? They're like, bro, it's the best place ever. So yeah, that's probably like a 1,500 capacity place. I don't know if it's 2,000, but it's definitely bigger. At least for Fit for a King, it was a lot bigger at the time.
Oh my god, that sounds almost like going to a spa before having to go on stage.
It was dumb. We played there with August Burns Brad in 2015.
Oh, talking about another ridiculous drummer.
Matt, yeah,
Yeah.
he's definitely very influential to a lot of drummers. But yeah, when they went on stage that night, they said, "You guys can hang out in our green room and go to like the hot tub and stuff." We said, "We'll do that." Thank you. Yeah, but that definitely was an awesome venue to play, the Norva in Virginia. I think my favorite one to date now, since I've been playing with Co, the country guy, was the Dell Diamond. It's like a ballpark just north
Oh,
of Austin. To me, part of it was just the feeling. It wasn't even my best show with them, but it was just the stage was in center field, pointing in towards like the stands, and that's like there's like a tunnel that you walk out to. And to me, I feel like a football player, professional football player, walking out and just like this is like a sold out show.
mm-hmm.
And I was walking by myself, just kind of trying to soak it all in. And it was just like the stadium's just beautiful too. It looks like it's pretty new, and I don't know, it felt like surreal.
That's
So like
probably so
it was
cool.
crazy. Yeah, it was crazy.
It's like that it must be that feeling of like getting called up to the big leagues when you're going through that tunnel where you're like, "Oh, okay."
Here we are, started from the bottom, right?
That's great. Um
Yeah.
so playing with playing have you toured, you've probably toured with Co, I'm assuming, besides Fit for a King, so you probably have to fit the two into your schedule simultaneously, I'm guessing.
I've never toured with them. I started playing live with Co during COVID.
Okay.
So that's how that opportunity opened up or presented itself. I've been the studio drummer for the past couple of years. So
Okay.
I've known their music, but never played it with the band live before. Um, but yeah, that's a good question. It's when the world opens back up, what's going to happen? I would love to do both. I would love to do both. To me, I'd love to have my cake and eat it too. So I have not had that conversation with either band yet. But I would love to do both. We'll see
I'd
what
love to
happens.
see you do both, man, because I think both are
Yeah.
really great. I mean, and also I feel like when musicians get the opportunity to play two different genres of music, you kind of have a little bit more appreciation for it. And then who
Yeah.
knows, you might even come up with ideas that you never would have thought of if you didn't play that country and metalcore, metal music, you know what I mean, heavy
Yeah.
music. Um, but for you, what was it like going through the changes with Fit for a King? Because I mean, you're technically solely the original member, correct?
Mhm. Yeah.
So like
Mhm.
going through those changes, were those really difficult, or was it very easy to kind of pick up these new personalities, people with different talent or different ways of writing. Because even in local bands, even before you get to where your position was, when you start changing out members, it's always like, what the hell are we gonna write next? What's this person gonna come? What are their
Yeah.
ideas gonna be? Because you only maybe have seen them play a snippet of a song somewhere, but you don't know what their actual writing style is. So, what was it like for you? Because the drummer's the backbone of the band. Everyone always says, but I just
Um,
definitely firmly agree with.
I agree with that. I think that there's only been two member changes that have been really hard,
Okay.
and it's not Bobby, it's not Kirby, because that happened so early on. There was no pressure to be good,
Mm-hmm.
right? They were probably the most important, um, because Bobby's the core writer of the band, and Kirby. I'm sorry, yeah, Bobby's the core writer, and Kirby is the voice. So those are two major parts. Like I said, that happened so early on that um, it didn't really seem like there was much pressure at the time. But
Okay.
I'd say the hardest one was our bass players, right? We had a bass player named Aaron Kadura.
Mm-hmm.
In 2013, he was the bass player in the clean singer of Creation Destruction. Um, Even, I mean, we're still friends to this day. He's still in Houston,
Mm-hmm.
but we couldn't we couldn't really agree on some things. He seemed to be going through some crap in life,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't seem to really be able to shake it. So that just didn't work out. So the problem that we had with that is he ended up leaving the band a couple weeks before we went into the studio to record Slave to Nothing.
Okay.
So like we would feel pressure because this is before Kirby was clean singing too. Um, so we felt stressed, right? So we found Tuck through a mutual friend, actually a promoter that was booking concerts in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, he was one of those. It's kind of, you remember those promoters that really treat you well, that like seem to care about you and seem to like enjoy your music and seem to like want to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a transaction of, hey, play my show, I'll pay you money and you'll make me money. There's few promoters that you build a friendship with because of the authenticity, right? And this guy Jeff was one of those guys, and Jeff and Tuck are really close. They've been playing, or because Tuck is from New York as well. They like grew up in the same scene together.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, Tuck joined the band 2 weeks before we went to the studio. And he, like I said, he's a clean singer as well. He has a really cool voice. But there was difficulty in that, and I think that not only trying to fit his voice into our music so abruptly, but he is from New York, so like we've only played with people from Texas and people that were like used to like our vibe and used to like the southern hospitality and the slow pace. How are you? Like that, like slow stuff like that. He's from New York. He's not like that.
So it was go,
You
go,
know what I
go,
mean?
go, go.
Very fast pace. Um, Kind of a hothead at sometimes, and that was the hardest transition we had to make. But I mean, it took some time to figure it out. Like we're really close, and we talk every day. Do you know what I mean? But like that was probably the hardest transition, not just sonically, not just trying to fit his voice into our music, but trying to be able to be cohesive as people and as friends. But what he really brought to the table was he was a really hard worker, and he really
Mm-hmm.
wanted it. He was constantly sending us ideas of songs that he'd written or vocal ideas, and to me that like was so clear, like, okay, this person wants it, and he is going to do a lot to prove himself and to try to get this spot, and we'd never seen someone like that before. So yeah, he was probably that access point of like or part of the hardest member change for sure.
That's really cool though, because I don't think a lot of people think that there's a cultural difference between states. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like having
Mm-hmm.
that slower pace, like you said, down in Texas, and then New York is go, 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 go. And then I live much further north, and it's a little bit more slow pace, but
Mm-hmm.
it's there's the community and people are friendly and how are you today, or just random smile. But Massachusetts right below me, no dice, man. Everyone's pissed off all the time. It gets the slightest
Yeah,
slightest bit cold, they're even more pissed off. So it's like,
yeah, and just
you know,
just to be clear, it's not a right or wrong thing. It's
no.
just different. It's just
Exactly.
different.
Exactly. So it's like just something you have to get used to, you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um but for you, during your time touring with Fit for a King, what are some of your favorite tours that you've done? I mean, you've done a pretty good multitude of them. So, what
Hmm.
are some ones from like start till now? What are some favorite ones? What are some bands that you really enjoyed going on tour with? You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the first tours that was really fun was For Today. Who was that with? I think it was For Today, Gideon. You know what we did? We did Scream the Prayer. Have you heard of
Okay.
that tour?
Yes, I
That
have.
was that was back in 2013. The tour honestly wasn't that good.
Really?
Yeah, but it was just a homie tour. All of us were like, we loved hanging out with each other, and we were like, I can't remember, probably like in the middle of the bill. So it was like there were 9 bands,
Okay.
which is crazy. Like you would hear about tours with 9 bands on it, unless like it's
No.
like Warped Tour or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Um, but it was just a fun tour. We were all just really close as friends, and we like were one of our first full U.S. tours. And so that in and of itself is new. It's fresh. It's like, oh my gosh, like we're on this bigger tour now. And so yeah, I'd say Scream the Prayer, 2013 or 2014 maybe. Um, in 2015, we went out with August Burns Red. I think that's one of the first tours that I thought, oh wow, like, this is like a big tour. August Burns Red has been big forever, right?
Oh,
They're like a
yeah.
legendary band in this world. And we've taken a lot from August Burns Red, not just because they're a big band or they're a good band live. At least I can speak this for myself. I can't talk about the other guys in Fit for a King, but August Burns Red is really good about making other bands feel welcome. Right. I've always thought, hey, when we're headlining, I'm gonna like talk to the opening bands and like give them my time and energy and make them feel like, hey, we want you here.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't been as good as August Burns Red, right? Like you get to the point, not to where like there's pride and I feel like, hey, like you should be lucky. I've never thought like that. But there's just so many more obligations when you headline. You have to do meet and greets and like I do drum lessons on tour. So like there's so much of my time that
That's
has
pretty
is
cool.
being spent. There's not a lot of time to relax and sit down and chill. But that's why I'm giving them a lot of credit, is because even in those times they were giving of their energy and always kind to us, and a good representation of I think a really good representation of how a band should act. Even in their green rooms, they're like writing music. Like everyone in the band is doing something on their computers, like their business. They're really business savvy and they're always working on something. So I can't say enough about that band,
They're
how much
extremely
they've helped us and how
inspiring.
well they're inspiring. Yeah, they
Uh,
really are.
his whole project he's doing right now, the lead singer Jake, is that correct?
Jake, yeah.
Yeah, his project with his gym and with mental health and everything like that. I think it's astonishing. I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
not enough people talk about it, and it's something that I always get to at the end of the podcast is just talking about like what are some. We'll do it at the end. I don't want to do it now because I don't want to spoil it, but we always
Okay.
do at the end. We do like a little bit of a mental health breakdown at the end just to give everybody a little bit of an uplift before we end it. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So but yeah, like you say that the 2013 tour was one of your favorites, and it was hanging out with homies and just
Mm-hmm.
having some fun. What was it like going on to even bigger tours past the August Burns Red tour? Was it kind of weird? Did you get almost like like imposter syndrome where you're like, why, or were you ready for it? Was it something that like you had prepared for?
Um, I don't want to call myself humble. I never think that we're like a big band ever. I think like,
That's pretty cool.
for example, on the first August Burns Red tour, we've done 2. On the first one, I thought, this is just cool to be here, right? The second one, I thought, okay, like this is cool to be here, but like, are people here? Like, are they singing our words? Are they singing August Burns Red songs? And like, so I'm thinking like, unless like there's like a sold out 3,000 people and everyone's singing the words, and my answer could change in a year or two. You know what I mean? I just feel like I'm never I never feel like we're a big band. I really don't. And maybe that's a bad thing sometimes, but I'm just always hungry. I always want to get better. And to me, a good show doesn't necessarily mean the show is sold out. It means like, how well did I perform and how well did our band play at that show? Because it's so much fun sometimes when everyone is in sync and we're feeling the energy off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a good question.
Cool, man. Now, are there any? I haven't asked this question before, but I feel like it's kind of more pertinent for. Well, it could be very pertinent for guitarists as well and bassists, but for a drummer, oh yeah. We'll go into
that. Oops. Am I drinking faster than you?
No, not at all. I got a clip out in my hand. Is that cool? Clip out?
What was that?
Clip out? Oh,
the clip. Oh yeah, clip out. ASMR?
Yeah.
That's such a good sound.
It's such a good sound.
What kind of beer is this?
This one is a regular IPA.
We started at the double. Now we're going to single.
Yeah, I figured I'd give you a little bit of a break. You know what I mean?
Wow. What a stand-up guy. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Your stork package that arrived from a stork, because that's how it arrived to you.
Naturally.
Unfortunately, the collaboration one that came out, I was gonna send to you, but it came out prior to that, and that one there is like I think almost 13%er. It's a triple IPA, so it's like that would be like a one and done before bed type thing, where you're like, all right, I'm gonna sleep now. Like that's not an interview beer, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, hey, maybe afterwards we can link up.
Yeah,
you can send me one of those.
Yeah, definitely, man. So yeah, going further in your tours, what were some of the bigger tours that you were like, you know, or festivals, anything like that?
Yeah, getting Warped Tour was a massive deal. I feel like we did Warped Tour in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
We did half of the tour. We put on a really small stage, but there was a lot of people that came out to our show every day. And so that let us know, okay, at least on this stage, we know that people are coming out. There was probably 3 bands that would draw a lot. It was, who was it? Us, No Captain Chunk, and a Skylit Drive. Those 3 bands, it was significantly different between like the crowd size. So that was cool. And then the next year we did a bigger stage. We did Monster Stage. And on Monster Stage, once again, we had one of the bigger crowds, but people knew our words that time. So I was like, okay, like I'm feeling like people actually know who we are at this point. We're not just like, we're not absorbing everyone else's fans, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was the same thing in 2017. 2017 was probably it was the most fun tour, but it was probably one of the hardest tours that we've ever done. So for y'all that don't know, when bands go on a Warped Tour, it's like almost a 2-month long thing during the summer. And it's outside, it's hot, and every band ever, they take a tour bus. They rent a tour bus, they go on the tour. Fifth Street King's never done that. We've always gone in a van that we've owned. So the only place that you have to go to get rescued is back to your 15-passenger van. And that's not comfortable. It's not big. It's not really that cold. So that was, oh my gosh, that was a story in of itself. And then in 2017, I brought some weights to go weightlifting. I brought like a bench set. So I was outside all day, never wearing a shirt because it's just too hot. I was working out. We were playing a show. So I feel like I was in the best shape of my life in 2017. Tan, lean, pretty fit. And our crowds were the biggest, probably of the stage. If not, like, we were probably like the top 3 bands on that stage. So I'm just trying to say we could see a significant growth in each year that we played Warped Tour.
It's like you got upgraded every year. They were like, all right, they passed the test here. And then all of a sudden it's like that next year. So that must be really cool to hear people sing along, and then that clicks in your head like, oh, okay, they know who we are now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing that I tell smaller bands than us that ask questions like, hey, like, what should we focus on? Like, what should Is this album artwork cool? Is this sound cool? Like, is this music that we're writing, is that even cool? And something I say to everyone is like, if people don't like your music, like that only goes so far. If your singer looks cool, like people will like you locally, but if your music's good, if people like the sound of it, doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter like your image, it's like people will listen to it if it sounds good. So like start there. Start with the music portion. And that's where you should be putting your money. What a lot of bands don't do in the beginning is they don't go to a producer, they don't maybe have an older person help with their music writing, which I get why, because it's kind of a shot to the pride, right? When you have other people help, but that would save you years of work if you do that. That's just my opinion. Not many people take it, but if I could go back and tell myself something, I would tell myself that.
It's funny you say that because Chris Davis from the Ghost Inside the other night said the same thing as when he was recording their newest album, that once it went to the producer, he felt a big sense of relief because then he was the biggest critic, so he kept going through it over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So once it was in the producer's hands, they would go, well, we should put this part here and, move it. And then all of a sudden it came together the way they wanted it to. But
Right.
not, you know what I mean? It's not even just like swallow your pride or anything like that. It's sort of like you kind of need an outside set of ears to really tell you. That's the producer's job, is to
Well,
produce, you know what I mean?
when I say swallow your pride, that's typically a younger band thing,
That's
because
true. That's very
you
true.
write stuff, you write music. Like let's say the guitar player writes a song. When you listen to it over and over, you start to get married to those parts and how they go. And once you write more music and more music, you start to be able to like let things go, right?
Okay.
That's what I meant by letting the pride go. You should see Fit for King in the studio. It's like if a part's not good, it's like, that's fine, let's do something else. Even if I really like it, I think, okay, like Tuck, Bobby, Kirby, they're not trying to not like it. They're not trying to think, oh,
Right.
Jared wrote this. I don't want to like it. You know what I mean? So like if it's good, everyone thinks that it's good, that's when you know, okay, wow, like this is going to be accepted well and people are going to enjoy this. So that's took our band a long time to get to that point.
That's understandable. And we have in the chat, Chard says it has to be an amazing experience to see the growth that you have
Mm-hmm.
throughout those years, especially during Warped Tour when you were saying small stage, bigger crowd, and then it morphed into something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I
Mm-hmm.
definitely agree with you with the younger band thing. It's always like, even thinking back to like, I never made it as far as you did or anything like that, but like playing in a local scene and then recording your album with whoever the local studio was and being stuck on an idea, and then as we got older we were like, wow, that part really sucks, we should have never recorded that, it sounds like
Yeah,
garbage, you know what I mean?
absolutely.
So it is really cool that it evolves over time. And even in chat they're saying emotional maturity is playing a big role in what happens
Mm-hmm.
in musical production or even band growth. I mean, you said it took a long time for you guys to get used to saying as a group, like, okay, this fits. Nope, that part, no, I'm not a fan of that. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
what has it been like recording with Fit for a King? Like you said, like, did it start out one way and then morphed into another way? Like, did it take a long time to get oof, excuse me. Did
What
it
was that? Is it a
That was a
belch?
pretty good belch.
Oh
I tried to
man,
do it off to the side too.
the double didn't get you. The single
The
is what makes
single
it
did.
better.
Yeah, what is that?
Sleeper.
So what has that been like
The
throughout the
recording process.
years? Yeah, what has it been like? Has it changed drastically throughout the years?
It changed drastically when Bobby and Kirby joined. We used to be like everyone in the garage playing songs together, drum kit set up. When Bobby and Kirby joined, Bobby had just went to school for music production and learning how to record. So we started moving all into inside the box. That's when I started learning how to program drums, so that when you send ideas back and forth, it's super easy to change. And you can, when you program drums in the computer, for those of you that don't know, it's called MIDI drums, MIDI drums. And if I program them and send them to Bobby or send them to anyone, they can just open it up in their computer, and those MIDI drums sound like real drums. Like I don't have to physically play and then send that over. It sounds really clear, and that was probably the biggest change, is moving from really live instruments to MIDI, to fake drums, and that helped us out a lot because we could send stuff back and forth, in a matter of like 30 minutes versus me having to set up the drums and track and like do all that stuff. It wasn't time efficient. That was the first big transition. Then I'm trying to think, going from some of the first couple albums, we basically just recorded with the producer. We didn't really like get our songs molded or shaped that much.
Okay.
But then when we're the last two guys that we went to, Nick Sampson, who we did Death Grip with.
Okay.
He really helped shape a lot of melody ideas vocally, and he helped shape some of the structuring as well, which the other guys did not shape structuring, but it was wasn't to the same significance as the last two albums.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and then the last two albums that we've done have been with Drew Folk out in LA, and dude, I wish you could see this guy work. It's crazy. It's yes, because he's just so fast with his shortcuts, and like he'll be playing a song, it'll start. As it's playing, as like in we'll wake up the next morning, he'll be playing the song and have an idea. Why don't we move this verse to this beginning part and this chorus over here? As the song's playing, he's moving stuff around, and then by the time he gets to there, it's playing the new idea. Dude, it's so crazy how he does this stuff.
That sounds so cool because it's almost like in real time redoing the song.
Exactly. But he is so good. And so that he's been the first guy that we've ever been to that a lot of his ideas, I'm not saying they're my ideas, but when he has an idea and we write it down, we record it, I'm thinking, that sounds great to me. I wouldn't change anything. Most of the time, if there's an idea, it's like, that sounds cool. I think I know what you're trying to do. But I don't know, he just has his ear that he's a freak. And he's really cool. He's a freak. He's really talented. So hopefully we can keep going back to him, and he can keep correcting our songs.
It's always nice when people really get along with a producer as well, and also when that producer sort of encompasses the sound for that band, sort of like what the producer for The Devil Wears Prada did. He sort of...
Who's it? Sturgis?
Yeah, Joe Sturgis, is that his name?
Joey Sturgis,
yeah. So like he was sort of the Devil Wears Prada's sound. Like he recorded everything, and then all of a sudden it wasn't that he got kitty cornered into being just the Devil Wears Prada's, producer and everything. Any band he recorded after them, he encapsulated their sound as well. So it's very cool when you have a producer that gives you your natural sound, but just gives you these little things of like, what if we did this just a little bit differently? I like when it's not like a completely mutilated song where it started out one way and then all of a sudden it's something completely different and you're not, I guess, 100% happy with it. Which leads to a question sort of like, is there a more business mind with some songs, or is there more of a creative side with some songs? Like, it is your job at the end of the day, you know what I mean? But is it always like, do you guys feel more like, no, we're going to play what we want to play instead of just, you know what I mean?
That's a good question. We know that there's albums or there's songs that have to be singles. They don't have to be singles. Let me correct that. There are songs that we know are going to do well.
Okay.
Because they have everything a song that Fit Freaking fans like.
Okay.
It has a catchy chorus. It's got a breakdown. It's got like a cool drum part. Like there's stuff like that. And it's not like you can't do that every song, but there are other songs that add color to your albums. I've always been a fan of bands that have songs that aren't this hit single every time. Songs like that maybe aren't as heavy, or maybe are heavier than everything else. I like songs that I like albums that like give every emotion, right? It's like the heaviest thing, just breakdowns and just like a punch in the face the entire song. The other songs that are like I said, more melodic and more like that hit your heartstrings a little bit.
Hmm.
I like albums that can kind of cover all those bases.
I can definitely get into that. A lot of my favorite bands, I really like it when I can go through the whole album.
Yeah.
Especially when it has dynamics. You know what I mean? So like going from, like you said, punch in the face song to maybe something more melodic, or even like that's like a power ballad. You know what I mean? Where you're like,
Yeah, and I will say we will probably always write albums like that and Fit for a King. Like we have to have it's like it's fun. We go to the studio and we say, okay, we need like we don't say we need radio songs. We just say, okay, like the singles for this album are probably gonna be like this. Then we need three songs that punch in the nuts. Then we need maybe a ballad or two. And then we need, I don't know, like we need your typical Fit for a King structured song. But at the same token, we look at what works for us, right? We look at our statistics. We okay, people like these songs because they're listening to them.
mm-hmm.
They are by far the most streamed songs, and we think, okay, people like this, so let's write songs like this. Like we want to make everyone happy, but it just has been the case that those songs have been most listened to are our
Mm-hmm.
favorite songs. So
Really?
yeah,
That's kind of nice because as you know, there's a lot of people that are musicians that stream on Twitch, and
yeah.
I pop into like Mike from All That Remains and Phil from All That Remains, and it's so funny to see the chat request the same songs over and over again. So it to me it
Their
always
first
like
album.
is yeah. Good call. I do like their first album a lot.
No, I don't know those guys, but that's my favorite music from them.
Oh yeah, and I've listened to them for such a long time that like I've seen the progression and change of what they did, where they stayed more metal than it was really metalcore. But
Do they like that album or no?
oh yeah, they love that album. Yeah, they do. No, it's
I thought you were gonna say, "Oh, they hate it. I think it's trash." Yeah.
no, they like all the. It's funny to, but I mean, like it's one of those things where you're like, we like playing those songs that are also the popular songs, so it's not something that you're like, gotta play this again. You know what I mean? Like, I
Mhm.
know there are some bands that are like, why did we write this? Why? You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's plenty of bands that there's songs that they just don't like playing. I mean, I
Mhm.
remember back in the day when Anthony Green had first left Seoshin, people would, when at Circus Survive shows, would scream like, sing 7 years. And he'd be like, no, that's Cove's song now. Like, that's not my song.
Technically, he wrote it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, wait a minute, that's your song too. So like it is so funny to hear people say like, no, I actually like playing the music that I like
That's
playing.
kind of a mean thing to do, though, for
What do you mean?
that fan, for that person in the
Oh
crowd
yeah. I
to
think that
request
he was
that
also
song.
going yeah. He was
That
going through a
happens
rough
to
time at the time, and I also feel like the fan was just being a jerk. Like just you know what I mean?
that sounds like I've seen that same thing happen to what's his name? He was in Blink-182. Now he's in
Tom?
England there with yeah. It happens to Tom that people request Blink-182 songs, and he's like, no. But recently, the last like 2019, there was a video that was going around. He just ended up playing those songs. He's like, all right, I'll play them.
That's
So I
pretty
love
awesome.
that.
So for
But
you, for heavy music, what are some things that you listen to currently?
dude, I when I listen to heavy stuff, I listen to Chelsea Grin.
Pretty awesome.
It's
Okay, that's a pretty
yeah,
solid choice.
it's weird. The reason that it's weird because like I'm just friends with them. But like,
Really?
yeah, I mean they're just my friends. So, but just the way that they write heavy music is just it just hits me in my gills. Like makes me want to go break things. But Chelsea Grin, I would say I still love As I Lay Dying a lot. Who else that's heavy? I don't listen to a ton of heavy music right now.
All right. So what do you listen to right now?
Um, my favorite band is called the 1975, like a
Oh,
pop
okay. Yeah.
band from Manchester. Like from across the pond, like British pop music. But their drummer is so good,
Hmm.
and it's kind of emo-y, so like that kind of like ties into my roots, right?
Yep.
I actually just got a tattoo
Did you?
of this little box right here.
Yeah.
It's like their logo. It's like a neon box, and my favorite song of theirs is called "Settle Down." So I have that written in the tattoo there.
Nice.
But yeah, I listen to them. Listen to who else do I listen to?
Chard in the chat said he loves the 1975 as well. So it is actually a very popular. So like when you were like, "Oh yeah, my favorite band's the 1975," I'm like, "Okay, I can see that." You know what I mean? Because it's usually like when
Uh-huh.
people hear. He said the first time he heard Chocolate, he was like, "Wow." Um, it's one of those things where you don't think that a heavy band can listen to someone like the 1975 and still play heavy
Mm-hmm.
music, you know what I mean, or get influence from it. But when you know a good drummer, you know a good drummer.
Yeah, he's crazy. He produces their band as well. He's a very
Really?
influential person to me. Yeah,
So would that ever be something that you would want to do, is produce music?
dude. At one point, I wanted to, but I feel like I would have had to start so long ago. Like I'm 30 now,
I'm
and
older than you, dude. I'm 3 years older than you. If I wanted to start it, it would be a joke. But you got 3 years behind me. I think you could do
you
it.
get what I'm saying there. I feel like if I was going to be competitive and do that for a living, I would have had to do that early on. Fortunately, I've been recording drums for a lot of bands. That's my forte. So to me, like I wanted to just do that, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that for other bands. Um,
What's that like being a studio drummer, Jared? Like, is that just
it's
like a
it's
lot of fun?
way different than being a live drummer.
Okay, so
Look,
what is it?
this is a perfect example.
Okay,
Perfect example
go for it.
is so I've been with Fit for a King since 2007,
Mm-hmm.
and had done a few other albums, but it was in the metal world, so I was comfortable. My old roommate is Wetzel's producer. That's how I met these guys.
Okay.
And this is in their 2016 album. He said, "Hey, come into the studio and see, like, track a song for me," because he just wants to record. He doesn't want to, like, because he can play drums too. He
Okay.
did drums on the whole album that I'm talking about. He said, "Come in and do drums on this song." First off, it's a 3/4 time signature song, so it's like a weird. For me, it was like uncomfortable. I could
Okay.
play it, but it was a little uncomfortable. But I couldn't. It was so slow, and it was a song that, like, it's like a love. The song was called "Love." It was like a love ballad, and I just couldn't play it that well. It was so humbling because it was like you hear it Fit for a King, and it's like there's blast beats, like
Mm-hmm.
fast stuff going on, double kick. We're talking about, and I just couldn't slow down. I couldn't do it, and I just was like, I was so confused with my body. I was like, why can't I do this? And part of that is just experience in being in the studio and recording to a click and recording to music that's slower tempo, and it was very humbling to me. It's way different being a studio drummer than it is to be a live drummer. And I know that drummer for Issues, Josh Manuel, he said that before too, so that made me feel more comfortable because he emphasized the same kind of thing. Fortunately, now I've done 2 albums for Co after that experience, and it's I wouldn't say it's easy now, but it's just fun. I don't have to worry about, like, I know what the band needs. I know what the band's asking for. And I've started to do like drumming videos on Instagram and stuff like that. So I kind of know the process and how, like, I know my tendencies. So I know how to maybe kind of correct those. But it's way different. It's fun though. As long as you're working with a producer that knows your style and knows how to, like, push you in the right direction. That's really important.
So, for drummers that are some drummers that you really look up to,
Mm-hmm.
um, the first drummer that really piqued my interest in being like someone that I was like, I didn't know drums, but I knew that they knew how to play drums, was actually the drummer of Dave Matthews.
Carter.
When I would watch him play,
Yeah.
and Lance actually said the same thing to me. He was like, "Dude, I love Carter. Some of his fills are insane." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, so like, you know what I mean? Like, you listen to heavy music and stuff, and you're like, I hope no one finds out I like the drummer of Dave Matthews." You know what I mean?
Dude, at this point, I'm so unashamed. I
Yeah,
like
I
Justin
am too.
Bieber's music. I have no shame,
We were just talking about that. So like
dude. I
Chris
don't care at
Davis
all.
said the same thing. A bunch of other people have said the same thing, like Taylor Swift, stuff like that. Like you appreciate music for music. It's not that you just, a lot of people just like music because it's what comes on the radio and it's
I,
always going to be the mainstream thing that they listen to. So when you
mm,
can go from Wetzel to Fit for a King to Justin Bieber, that speaks volumes about your open mindedness
well,
to
I was
music.
that kid in middle school and high school. I was like,
Me
oh, like
too.
you like this, like Taylor Swift, like this is terrible. It's terrible music. The drums sound awful. But now it's like when you put yourself in that position, this is just my opinion. Because I've been a person who's tried to make a living in this world
Mm-hmm.
of music, and I think, okay, like you can't be successful like with BS music, like or like if you don't look the part. There's so many things that have to come together for you to be successful. There are artists, right, that are they kind of got lucky, it seems like, but
Yes.
you have to have a lot of pieces of the puzzle to align to get here. So that helps me appreciate. Like I started listening to Justin Bieber because I thought, okay, what is the best album, the best sound, the best recording that money can buy? And it's top 40 music, right? Like
Yeah.
the label puts them into the best producer, the best studio. So I was listening like, why does this sound so good? I started studying Justin Bieber, and sure enough, I'm like, okay, this is kind of catchy. I kind of like this. This is kind of good, you know?
I feel like when people don't have enough open mindedness to just random, like me, I was so friggin' stubborn when it came to country music that I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. Chris told me to listen to this guy, I'll listen to it. And I was like, oh, okay, this is
Yeah.
good. And then I didn't even realize you were drumming for until I started looking more at your pictures and stories that you kept posting. And I was
Hmm.
like, I knew you just as the drummer for Fit for a King, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Fit for a King's a great band. But then to see that you could play heavy blast beat stuff and then play the stuff, I was like, oh, he's a versatile drummer. I like seeing
Hmm.
versatile drummers. Like, that's why I'm always impressed when someone can be like, let's say the Black Dahlia Murder or Between the Buried and Me, but like maybe they're influenced by a jazz drummer. That's really what
Hmm.
piqued their interest to get into drumming. You know what I mean? So for you, for heavy drummers, besides As I Lay Dying's drummer, who is someone that like, definitely not Lars Ulrich because you can outplay him by a long shot.
Yeah.
He's better at tennis than he is at drumming. That's my personal opinion. That is my personal opinion.
That's
Not
a
many
clip right
people
there.
know that he was supposed to be a professional tennis player and he ended up
Wait,
being
he's good.
he was supposed to be a pro. Like that's the backstory on him. So Lars Ulrich was supposed to be a professional tennis player and botched it and then just played snare and hi-hat and bass drum once in a while for, for
Okay,
Metallica.
hey, this is my opinion on all of that. So I think that his style could have had a lot to do with why they were successful. And this is probably like a conspiracy theory, right? Like if he would have been a strutter and been able to play like some of the blast beats and crazy double kick, it probably would not have been as accepted widely. So maybe his inability to play some crazy stuff kept them more towards the easier to digest audience.
Well, I
I don't
mean,
know.
look at Kirk
Maybe
Hammett,
that's me.
man. I mean,
Hmm.
if there, like you said, I mean, his shredding wouldn't stick out as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But we can
yeah,
all
dude.
agree that Saint Anger was probably a bad idea. Everyone everyone agrees that that's the one album. I mean, one of my favorite bands since I was 13 years old is Coheed and Cambria. And I can go ahead and say that
Goodbye, sniper.
yeah, exactly. So like
You didn't sing it with me. Cool.
it's, he,
I'll just be alone in the corner singing by myself.
well, you know what the funny part is, man, is like I got so much crap. You said like you have no shame in listening to music.
Yeah,
I was shamed for listening to them when I was 13 because people were like, dude, he sounds like a girl. Like, he sounds like a girl. He sounds like,
he kind of does.
yeah, he
That's fine.
does. But, like, what about Geddy Lee? You know what I mean? And people were like, who
Yeah.
the hell's Geddy Lee? So, like, in high school, I'm like, oh, no one knows who Rush is. Never mind. You
They
know what
know
I mean?
Rush. They just don't know who Geddy Lee is.
Exactly. So like one of my favorite things is like seeing how even from the start of Fit for a King till now, your drumming's even gotten different. And I feel like with your drumming getting go ahead.
And I was going to ask, how is it different to you?
I feel like it's more along the lines of the fills are where they're supposed to be instead of being flashy. And you know how like when you're younger you're trying to put more emphasis on things, whereas
Absolutely.
as you get older it's more solid, packed tight, and you're like, oh, there doesn't need to be a fill in that because when we go into the breakdown I'm going to start doing other things with the cymbals. And so like I
Yeah.
felt even on the new album I was like, oh, some of these breakdowns are awesome. They really like even listening in headphones, because like going to the gym, you guys are in my playlist for my gym playlist. So when I go in the sauna at the end of the gym session, it's a
Big sauna
podcast.
guy?
Oh yeah, I sit in there for like an hour and 15.
Big sauna guy. Hey, out. What?
Yes, I've gotten
You're
to
a
the
madman.
point from throughout the whole pandemic I haven't been able to use it. They just started opening it back up in New Hampshire recently. So it's been really awesome to be able to go back
Mm-hmm.
into it. But prior to the pandy, I would sit in there for an hour and 15, and right now I've been doing about 40 minutes to get back
That's
up
wild.
there. But yeah, dude, I can sit in there with a really good podcast, especially one that's like maybe a 3 hour one, and just zone out, forget the entire world, close my eyes, listen to the podcast, and literally sweat till I feel like I'm gonna die.
I love hearing that. Yeah, I swear by the sauna. It's funny, like I'm gonna bring two things together. I was
Okay.
watching Justin Bieber's tour bus. It was like
Mm-hmm.
from GQ. GQ was giving like a tour bus. GQ was following Justin Bieber on his tour bus. And on his tour bus, he has a sauna.
No way.
Oh yeah.
How is that possible?
I guess when you got that Boku money, you can do
Yeah.
whatever you want to do.
No kidding. He sneezes and money comes out.
You were not wrong.
No, yeah, no kidding. You know what? I feel like your level of fame is cool. You know what I mean? For being in Fit for a King and Co. I feel like his level of fame would literally just be every day of looking in the mirror and being like, well, better behave today. Everyone's watching. Literally. You
That
know
would
what I
suck.
mean?
Absolutely.
Like everyone can be a critic of themselves, but when the whole world has to be a critic of you every day and you have to know about it because of these stupid things, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where you're
They're
like,
everywhere.
oh,
Yeah.
great, awesome. You know, TMZ is going to post something
Mhm.
about me 5 minutes after I do it. So, for
Yeah, that's an added pressure for sure.
for you at shows, like if someone recognizes you at shows and stuff like that, is it still weird for people to come up to you and
You know,
introduce themselves?
you know what? Like, um, this is a cool thing to me. It happens most of the time. People recognize me, like even if I'm outside the concert venue. It's always when I'm with like someone that I want that to happen with. Like when I go to California and I'm with my brother. It's actually my brother's birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday to
But
your brother, man. That's awesome.
happy birthday, Jordan. um, every time I'm with him, someone outside the concert venue notices me and like comes over and like asks for like an autograph or a picture or something like that. And to me, that's all that matters to me is like that situation. Outside of that, I don't care. Like I'll do your own thing. Like I don't need this. I just want my family to know that I'm doing okay. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Your brother definitely must be like, oh, this is pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
people know who
yeah.
my brother is, because that's like a sense of pride too. Because like my brother is in the medical field and he was just noticed for something, and I'm proud of him for that. So like for you to be a musician and your brother to see someone come up and get real excited and giddy and be like, hey, can you sign this for me, or will you take a picture with me, a selfie with me? It must be like a, yeah, no problem. You know what I mean?
Of course I do that, but I mean he's like way smarter, way like um I don't know if more successful is the right word, but like makes a lot of money. Like he's like a cooler version of me, but we're just in different fields. Do you know what I mean?
No, I totally know what you mean. You're successful in the field that you're in, and he's successful in the field he's in. So it's like
1,000%.
two totally different things, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I like when people compare each other, but I also like when people are excited and appreciate how successful one another are. Oop, oh, there we go. Your camera cut out for a
Sorry. No, that
second.
was actually my brother calling me.
Oh,
Calling me back.
my bad. It's his birthday. I know. Um, so in the chat they asked, does the band draw influence from other genres for songwritings? I know Jared said they've drawn performance influence from bands in similar genres, but what about while writing? Are there some
What was that
influences?
again?
So is it does the band draw influence from other genres for writing songs? I know Jared said they've drawn performance influence from bands in similar genres, but what about while writing?
Here's a great example, and I'll
Okay.
get to that specific question. But what makes a band is the bass player, the drummer, the guitar players, the vocalists. They all listen to different genres, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their version of what they want to happen here, what they want to happen in the chorus or the breakdown, it's all different perspectives because you all have different music that you listen to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes a band a band. That's what gives the flavor of the band is these individuals that like different kinds of music, all writing one genre or one like piece of art, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's awesome. I love hearing different bands because like if you were to change one member in our band, it'd probably sound a little bit different. Maybe a good thing or a bad thing, right? Um, but as far as like, does it change? Do we listen to things or do we try to be influenced by things in the studio? I would say this is probably like talking too much, but there obviously we were supposed to go on tour with Parkway Drive. So there was one song that we wrote in the same vein. And before I even say the song, you can probably already guess the song. Maybe you can't. Maybe I'm gonna ask if you can guess the song that was kind of influenced by Parkway Drive.
No, I can't guess the
You
song.
can't.
No.
The Path. It's like
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
anthemic, but
Yeah,
it's
I
not
could.
clean singing. It's and when I say influenced by them, like it still sounds like us. It's not like, at least in
Yeah.
our opinion, it's not ripping them off, but it's still like, okay, we want to write a song that's pretty anthemic and it sounds more like a stadium metal band versus metalcore.
Okay, so I get you a little more. A little more for maybe more crowd involvement type thing. People that
Yeah.
might not listen to the genre that might hear the song and be like, "Oh, okay, I can get into something like this." You know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
in chart in
Exactly. And we do that not to just like, we're not trying to copy them, but if anything, we're trying to expand what we can do as a band.
I feel like now when after we get off of this interview, if I listen to the path, I don't even know if I'm still going to hear that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and that's not like blowing smoke. That's just one of those things of like I might
You know.
hear the influence, but I'm not gonna say like no, they ripped off Parkway Drive. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I feel like there are some bands that definitely definitely do that where you're like you didn't even try, like you didn't even try to
Yeah.
mask who your influence was. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we still did our own thing. We didn't try to like take their riff and like copy it, make it our, like we tried to just do what we wanted to do, but we we did we did know how they do their thing. Does that make sense? Like we kind
Yeah.
of listened to their song. You know what? Like there's a reason that they're big. There's a reason they're successful. Let's do a Fit for a King kind of version of the arena metal. You know what I mean?
What's really funny though is their progression's been into arena metal, whereas before it was just beat you down, kill you with like this just brutal assault of lyrics and fast-paced
Mhm.
guitar. And now it's sort of stadium metal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we look to them as like one of those weird influences of being like, because they were around the same time as I Killed the Prom Queen.
Hmm.
Do you remember them? I'm sure.
I
Jonah
do.
Weinhoffen and everything.
I don't know them or even know their music that well, but I know the band.
Yeah, they well, Jonah, as soon as I Killed the Prom Queen broke up, Jonah went to Bring Me the Horizon for a little while. It was a very short time, and then he
Okay.
left that and did something else.
He
But
messed up.
yeah, no kidding, right? They are I for a band whose first album is pretty brutal lyrically and musically.
Mhm.
Um, to hear them now, what a crazy evolution. You know, adding electronica in with metal, with
Dude,
I mean,
they're talented.
oh, talented is an understatement. I mean, I always think it's cool. That's why I said to you, and it wasn't blowing smoke, like hearing how heavy and aggressive. Oof, another burp. The single IPA got me, man. Um,
Well,
see,
let's move on from that then.
yeah, go ahead. What do you? I think I
No,
might.
sorry.
No,
Finish
no,
your
no, go
thought.
ahead.
This is
Uh,
good.
so, like, no, I'm saying like it's not blowing smoke, but hearing how aggressive Fit for a King was at the start of those
Mhm.
albums up into how melodic you are now, it does speak volumes about that maturity evolution. That, you
Well,
know, go ahead.
let me say something about that I actually learned from a 1975 interview that really connected with me. So, and this will revert back to the All That Remains first album. A
Okay.
lot of people, that's their favorite, right?
Mm-hmm.
So something about bands that I think would be good to know is my favorite 1975 album was their first one, right?
Okay.
And it's not because like I don't like their other ones. I like the other ones. But when they wrote their first one, they were 19, 20, 21. Well, Fit for a King wrote Creation Destruction. I think I was like 20 or
Okay.
21. But the way that I express myself, imagine yourself at 20, 21.
Aw.
Would you talk the same way? Would you like speak the same way? Would you? Yeah, you probably wouldn't, huh?
No, I was
To
Garbaggio
33.
at 2021. Like, I had totally
But
different ideas and everything.
at the same token, myself and a lot of other people would connect with the first 1975 album. Even now, even me being 30 years old, the way that they wrote music when they were 19 and 20, I still connect. It's not just nostalgia. It's like the way that they wrote it, the way like it was all put together. It was raw and it was like it was rebellious. It
Mm-hmm.
was all like it was all perfect to me, and I still connect to it. But I like their music now, but it's like it's just different. It doesn't connect like their 30-year-old self doesn't connect to my 30-year-old self the way that they expressed themselves when they were younger. Does that make sense?
I
It's not a
100.
right or wrong thing. It's just like
Yeah,
a timing thing.
it's a timing thing, and I think that when you grow up with a band and you watch them evolve with you growing up as well, you sort of almost kind of agree with the sound that they're coming out with. Not every
Mhm.
band. Some bands go off the deep end where you're like, oh, okay, either they stopped doing drugs or now they are doing drugs, because this is definitely not what they used to write, or you know what I mean? Like,
No.
it's just like
Or
some.
maybe this is like a okay, you've been doing drugs for 8 years and your brain doesn't work anymore.
Exactly. Or even sometimes when people stop, then all of a sudden they're not creative. So it's always this double edged sword where you're like, this is horrible. Like, artists go
Yeah.
through so much that people really don't understand. And it's like, now you have things like YouTube where you see comments, or you see Spotify where you see your play. You know
God.
what I mean? It's a dumpster fire.
I was listening to Joe Rogan earlier.
Okay.
He was doing a podcast with this guy named David Goggins, who was like a
Oh,
marathon
dude,
runner.
so I've listened to his book, and I will not lie to
Which
you.
one?
Can't Hurt Me.
Can't hurt me. I just
Yes.
downloaded the audiobook.
The audiobook's phenomenal because it's like a podcast in itself. So, I mean, I recommend it to everybody that always has like a really hard time with. He's a special type of person.
No
I've
one has had the hard time like he's had.
No, and not to mention, I feel like even even the devil's afraid of David Goggins. So like,
Yeah.
sometimes when he posts videos, I'm just like, I don't do nearly enough. I don't care if I went to the gym, I ran, I worked that day, and I, did yard work or something. I'm like, I didn't do as much as David Goggins or Cameron Haynes,
No, you
like one of
didn't.
those people.
Dude, he did 100 miles 8 weekends in a row. He ran 100 miles in 32 hours, I think it's 33 hours, he would run 100 miles.
Did you hear
8
about him
weekends in a row.
recently? He just did like an ultra marathon, and then he had to have his knees like evacuated because they blew up, and then he went running like 5 days post hospital visit.
He's
He's
a
like,
guy that
stay
embraces
hard.
pain. He embraces pain. The daily thing that we avoid, oh, this hurts, I don't enjoy this. He's like, he runs towards that.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
man. But you know what I mean? At the same time, I feel like real hard work and perseverance makes a different breed of human being. You know what I mean? You kind of
Oh
appreciate
yeah.
things a little bit more. Um, a lot of inspirational stories like that just make me feel like garbage.
Hey, so if y'all once y'all are done with this, you should at least put on the queue the Joe Rogan podcast with David Goggins.
Yeah, I can't
It is
recommend that one enough.
inspirational.
Yeah, it's really nice to see someone go from the absolute depths of being depressed and miserable and overweight and then fighting through it, failing multiple times, but then
Well, he
finally
lost
finding.
100 pounds in 6 months
Yep.
or 6 weeks or something like stupid.
Yeah. And then like he would just get depressed and then fall back off the wagon, you know what I mean? So it is, everyone has their own it's even in, Fit for a King songs, you know what I mean? Personal demons that you fight all the time and get rid of. It's one of
Yeah.
those things that, and I won't keep you too much longer because I know that you probably have stuff to do, and it's your brother's birthday. I would like it for you to call him back. I mean, I held people up from eating their pizza last night. I'm holding you up from your brother's birthday. I feel bad about.
No, don't feel bad.
So
we should do one more beer, and after that we'll call it. How about that?
all right, we'll do that. I might not. I think I forgot the Soul Fight in my fridge, so I might have to open a different one from you.
I have Soul Fight, The Agent, and Citra Days.
You should go with Citra Days. I'm gonna open a Nuevo Fresca because it's a lager.
A New England IPA.
Yeah, I think you'll really like that one.
Hey, can you hear this?
Oh yeah, you can definitely hear it.
ASMR, right?
It is the best sound ever. You got people in the chat saying, let's go. So you'll have to let me know how you like that one there, because that one's been pretty popular lately.
Okay. I'll be the judge of that.
So are you a big IPA fan, or are you a big any type of beer fan, or is there West Coast, East Coast?
My go-to, if I'm not worried about like calories and stuff, would be a Blue Moon.
Really? So like a wheat beer?
I love wheat beers.
Really? So
I like
I'll keep that in
IPAs
mind.
too. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm an alcoholic. I like beer, right?
Like, no, you're a connoisseur. It's the fancy term.
That sounds better. That's a better ring to it. I like IPAs. The only thing I don't drink a lot of are like stouts. I like them. To me, it's like a winter thing. If I'm in the snow, I'll drink some stouts. Like it's
Fall
more of
and
a
winter.
meal.
Fall and winter are the only times
exactly
I'll do that. And then for me, I'm like, so I brewed up at Kettlehead for a while doing the sour program, and my favorite type of beers are lagers and pilsners. They're extremely difficult to make. They're really fun. They're super refreshing. But I also like farmhouse beers, and not a lot of people like those, which means it tastes.
What's a farmhouse beer?
So what would happen is when people worked on farms, so that the farmhands didn't get absolutely wasted while they were plowing and tilling the fields, they would make these 3-4% beers that were like sort of sour, but they weren't. They were kind of tart, almost like lemon tart. Not overwhelming, not weird, but they would be like a 3.5-4% beer that you could throw back all day and you didn't feel like crap from them. So like, and they had some sea salt in them sometimes, so it was like sort of like that salty sweet type of taste. So it was really cool. Those are my favorite beers to make too as well. But like during tour, you just said with like beer, watching calories and things like that, what's it like being on tour and having to go through like food every day? Like, what's that like for you?
Bro, let me tell you, it's night and day going from Fit for a King to Co.
Really?
Night and day. Um,
So what's that consist of? What's it like when you're with Fit for a King, and then what's it like when you're with Co?
so on in Fit for a King, me and Tuck tend to
Mhm.
stay together when it comes to food. And we try to eat healthy, right? Like Chipotle, like get a burrito bowl, something like that. We like to watch our weight, we like to go to the gym. And honestly, I just feel better. I
Mhm.
feel better when I'm like eating like that. I enjoy honestly the Chipotle is probably my favorite fast food spot.
I
That
can.
and Chick-fil-A.
Oh, yes. Yes. Over here, Chick-fil-A is a little difficult because over here in New England, it's like an hour wait in line to get Chick-fil-A, whereas I'm sure it's pretty easy for you to go in and out over there in Texas, right? No?
You should see how fast they are over here.
Oh, yeah. See, over here it's still a new thing. It's like that new shiny toy, and it's been over
They
a
don't
year.
they don't like Christians over there.
It's
That's why it's a new thing. Christian chicken. Yeah. Over here in the Bible Belt, they love Chick-fil-A.
That's true. Oh, yeah, that's right, because they're closed on Sundays as well. And it's always funny because
Yeah.
here in New England, everybody's at the mall and there's a Chick-fil-A in like the food court. And they'll be like, oh, I'm going to get you. Why the hell is it closed on Sunday? I'm like, it's a Christian
Listen,
fast food place.
Chick-fil-A being closed on Sunday helps you know what time of the week it is. Like, you know what I mean? I don't have to know. Like, I don't have to know. So it makes it difficult to know where I'm at or what day of the week it is. But yeah, so Fit for a King, we eat like Chipotle, like Tuck and I are pretty good. And then with Co, it's like we're going out to like steak restaurants and and we may have a few cervezas, maybe like a few after the show, which leads to like late night eats, like Whataburger or Taco Bell or like McDonald's or something. Yeah, it's hard to say no to some of that, when they're throwing double chasers at you. Come on.
Oh, man. What's your favorite bad fast food place? Like favorite of all time?
Whataburger.
Really?
Have you had it?
I haven't had it. Everyone rants and raves, but like everybody that's had Whataburger is always like, nah, man, Five Guys is way better. Is it because
No.
is it a Texas based chain? Whataburger?
I think it started in Texas, yeah.
So is
But
it?
now it's owned by a Chicago bank. I know that. I think it's a Chicago company. Anyways, like I don't think it's just because it's from Texas. I like In-N-Out. A lot
I
of people from
love In-N-Out.
California say In-N-Out's the best. I like it too. It's good. But I think there's something about Whataburger. Maybe it's nostalgia. Maybe it's like because I grew up with it. I don't know.
Do they at
But
least
I
have
just
good
to me,
fries? Because I mean, In-N-Out's
oh, they're
fries are
great.
hot garbage.
Whataburger is closer to McDonald's style fry.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I can dig that. Every time I've
Yeah,
gotten
it's
In-N-Out
good.
fries, they're like as soggy as the bag they came in. I'm like, oh, this was good. You know what I mean? So much for going to
I mean, in my
Vegas.
experience, in my In-N-Out, it's like it's fine every time. It's consistently fine. You know what I mean? Like
I mean,
I don't
burger
dislike
wise
it.
for me, it's always been, but like I never get fries when I go. I'm like, I'll just get two double doubles. We're good, animal style. I'm all set with that.
Animal style.
Yes, gotta get animal style. So, of like, what are some like over the pandemic? What are some things that have kept you musically creative? Have you just been like brushing up on your chops, sort of thing, or have you been trying to explore different types of music?
No, so what the pandemic gave to me was I took a break from playing drums.
Really?
It sounds maybe bad. Um, it sounds kind of bad, but like over the past 10 years, I've never had an opportunity to stop playing ever.
Even think of that.
Um, and this is just one perspective because it would probably be more smart to do more drum videos and like really buckle down on doing that kind of thing because that would help out my career. But I thought, you know what? Like I've never had this opportunity like to just chill out. And I still play. It's not like I don't play, but I just don't have to. I just kind of took a step back and like I wanted to like take a breather and like kind of like reset. Um, and that's what I did. I mean, at the same time, I feel so lazy. It's unreal how
But
lazy I felt.
But at the same time, you shouldn't, because I don't think enough people understand how hard a tour is on someone's
Right.
body. I mean, load in, load out. What set list are we playing tonight? What are we gonna pick to eat? If you're with Fit for a King, if you're with
Well,
Co, you're
bro.
like, we already got it covered. So you know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those things. It's really hard. I mean, I people that have done small tours as a small band, going from state
Yeah.
to state to state and booking it yourself and then getting everything all squared away. I mean, it stinks bringing in your equipment yourself, and then like you said, there was one venue where you had to bring up 5 flights of stairs, then out on a fire escape into it. Like, no one thinks about like carrying stuff in, waiting around, playing your set,
Yeah.
carrying stuff out. You know what I mean?
Well, dude, Fit Freaking had just gotten to the point where I didn't load in or load out. I just played shows.
Really?
Like, to me, like that's like a goal, right? Like,
Yeah.
you show up, the our drum tech would carry stuff in, set everything up, guitar techs would get the guitars ready, and then I get a text, hey, sound check's ready. I'm like, all right, I'm coming. Like, it's just like, to me, that's like a dream, right? We had just gotten to that point, and it sounds bougie, and it is, but like, we worked so hard to get there. You know what I mean?
You work so hard, but it must be so cool to be like, all right, I finally made it. They texted me to tell me that sound check's ready. You know what I mean? Like,
You wouldn't believe it.
all my stuff is set up the way I want it to be. It's mic'd. I'm ready to go.
Oh yeah, dude, my kit was memory locked. Like, every single part of the kit, you couldn't mess up setting it up because of how perfectly, like, you know what memory locks are, right?
What was that?
You know what memory locks are? Like,
Uh,
on the hardware.
Vaguely, only because of Lance. That's about it.
I got you. I got you. So ultimately, like, there's like settings in each part of your hardware that you can lock in. So
Okay.
when you put this piece into this piece, it can't be messed up. It
Okay.
has to be perfect. So ultimately, like, when the tech sets my kit up, sorry, my phone's like sliding all of a sudden.
No worries.
When the tech sets the kit up, it can't be wrong.
That's
It's
pretty
perfect
amazing.
every time I sit down on the kit. Yeah.
So, is there some nights where, like let's say at like the end of a tour, where it's getting close to the end of it, do the set lists become more demanding or less demanding due to like fatigue and things like that?
That's a good question. Part of it's just sleep. Are you sleeping enough?
That's what I mean. Like, do you guys sleep pretty well when you're on tour? Like you said, you just got to the point where there's sound check and everything. Were you using a bus at that point, or were you still using a van? Like, do you guys use a
Yeah.
bus now?
So
When?
there's a vehicle in between a van and a bus called a bandwagon.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen those. Those are pretty cool.
You've seen those?
Yeah.
They're like the size of a bus. They have bunks like a bus, but
Mm-hmm.
like, the main difference is the suspension. There's like not what do you call it? Like, a bus has like the A grade suspension,
Yep. The
where
air suspension and everything.
the bandwagon does not have that same thing. So it's a little more bouncy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's significantly cheaper. So Fit for King has done a few of those tours where we've been in a bandwagon.
What did that feel like going from the van to that? Was that like a huge upgrade where you're like, oh, this is real nice?
Absolutely. I mean, it was great. It, to me, like, that stuff, more than comfortability, which is way more comfortable. It's more like, we're finally doing we're finally doing it. You know, like, stuff like that. It's because I want to be successful in music, right? I want to, like, play my music. I want to, like, be able to provide a living. But like, I just want my parents to feel like, okay, like, he's doing all right. Like, he's doing okay. You know what I mean? And when you show up in a van, like, they're like, oh, okay, like, are you able to make your payments on, like, your mortgage? This, like, that's almost what it seems like. My parents are super supportive, but that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Oh, well, they're always going to worry. I think any parent that doesn't see their child go into something like a trade or into school and then become something because of a degree, everyone's always going to worry, because that's always the stigma. You got to go to school, you got to do this to be successful. But
Hmm.
now you're seeing throughout this pandemic and throughout the past couple years, really, people really taking things into their hands and being their own boss. Um, so that brings me to my next question: is there like small businesses that you like supporting that are like, maybe some friends that do things, or,
Yeah.
yeah. So what are some of those things that you want to, maybe
Yeah.
plug?
So I live in Fort Worth,
Okay.
Texas, like I was saying earlier. And obviously our guitar player that does not tour with us, his name is Bobby. Him and his wife own a plant shop. They sell like literal plants and succulents and like that kind of thing. It's called Grow Plant Shop, and that's something that I support.
Where in
They just
Texas is that?
it's in Fort Worth.
Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah, yeah, it's in kind of just west of downtown.
All right, cool,
But
man.
him and his wife just moved into a new like a brick and mortar. They were in like an Airstream, right? One of those like those trailer Airstreams.
That's pretty cool.
It was cool. It was hip. It was in a cool part of town, and then they outgrew it, which is a good problem, right? And they moved into a brick and mortar just west of the central downtown. So I'm happy for them. They're doing well. The shop is really cool too. If you like plants, I don't know. To me, it was kind of like a
my house looks like a jungle right now, buddy. My wife has been on this plant kick, and like every time I go to take a pee in the bathroom, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in the jungle now. Like it feels like
Hey.
Jumanji when I try to pee.
anyone who's listening to this that's younger, like 23, 24,
Mhm.
they probably don't get it. Like, oh, this is weird. They're buying plants. Okay, when you hit 30, 33 or so, and you start to buy plants, I want you to remember this podcast, this stream here, because there's something clicks. You start, okay, you're 21, you buy beer, you drink craft coffee, then you go to like craft beers, then you move to like plants. And it's like there's like then you drink LaCroix. Like there's a system of things. It's just gonna happen. All right.
There's a hierarchy of
it just
beverages, sir. There's a hierarchy of beverages.
Exactly. You don't choose it. It chooses you.
I think that that's something I'm actually going to start doing is that if I have to interview, not have to, I want to interview people that maybe don't drink beer. I'm going to start supporting a local coffee company to send to people. So that this way, if they don't do beer, you could always do coffee. You know what I mean? I think your brother's calling you again.
Mhm.
Is that your brother calling you
There you
again?
go. No. I was making sure I had battery.
Oh, okay. So, as we finish up this beer and wrap things up, are there any things in the future that you guys are planning to do with Fit for a King now that things are starting to open up? Are you pretty excited that maybe there's a chance in going out and doing a little bit more and maybe bouncing between Texas and Florida that's open right now? And, one of the main things...
we're trying to
Go ahead.
we're trying to book a tour for later this year. If I could say more, I would.
Oh,
but
yeah,
we're
yeah,
hoping
I
to have
understand.
something later this year. And the tour that we're looking at is a big one. It's an American tour. It's an A market, so it's playing all the major cities. And it's a long tour, but it's a good one. Yeah, I'll just say that. It's for a fact. I know that you'll want to go do it.
Oh, I definitely.
Specifically.
There's people in chat that are already saying "Let's go." So, so it
Like
is. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, if you put the pieces together of the conversation we've had, it's with some of those bands.
Oh, then yeah, that will be absolutely something that I go to. I mean, I lost my mind the other day because the Ghost Inside Acacia Strain.
I saw that.
Yeah, I bought tickets literally within 5 minutes of it being announced, and I texted my wife and I was like, "Bought tickets to a concert because someone finally announced one." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's like something that I'm trying to do up here in NH is that I'm tired of it being skipped over, and there's quite a lot of outdoor concert venues and things up here, and I feel like it needs to happen up here more often. So that's something I'm personally going to work on in the state is the breweries have already showed support to, as you can see, the breweries have showed support to supporting music. And I feel like brewing's an art form, music's an art form, people drawing and painting is obviously an art form. But it would be nice to see a little bit more spread out. You know what I mean? Because New Hampshire gets skipped over for everything. So doesn't Vermont. I can understand why Vermont gets skipped over. It's pretty much Canada.
Where do you play New Hampshire? You play
I mean,
what cities?
there's Manchester, there's Derry, there's what's the problem is I think that I don't think a lot of people realize there's a lot of venues in New Hampshire, and they really only get utilized for country music. So I mean, if Co wanted to come to New Hampshire, it would be a thing. But the crazy part is there's a huge metal and metalcore scene in New Hampshire. So for them to not open
I'm
it
trying to
up
think.
in other,
We've played there, right? New Hampshire.
you probably have played there. Manchester, Derry, Guilford, those are the
What's
like main
what's
ones.
the Stone Pony? Where is that? That's not New Hampshire.
No, that's Massachusetts, I believe, isn't it?
Massachusetts, maybe.
I think so. Hold on, what does the Google machine
It's up
say?
there somewhere. Dude, the Northeast is like so small and condensed. It's harder to recall.
And a lot of people say that too because oh no, that's the Stone Pony is New Jersey. New Jersey.
Yeah, it was
Bingo.
new something.
Yeah, knew something. Yeah, up here there's like Tupelo Music Hall. There's a place called the Northlands, I think, in like Swansea, which is like a friggin' hike for me. But I'd be
Mhm.
willing to do that because for New Hampshire residents, it kind of stinks to go to the Palladium, even though it's a great venue. It stinks to go like an hour and 40 because then
Yeah,
you're gonna be tired by the time you leave, or you have to stay down there for the night. That type of thing.
that's fun too sometimes, right?
That's true. That's true. But like one or two quick questions before I let you go, okay? Over the pandemic, has there been any like movies or TV shows that you've sort of watched to like that you never thought you'd watch or anything you binged? I mean, I know you're pretty busy doing 9 million probably different things, so
Well, first off, I get into the weird one. To
okay.
some people, it's probably not weird to you because of the platform you're using, but I picked up playing Call of Duty.
Okay.
Um, that wasn't the question, but I've been watching a ton of like Nick Merckx and Tim the Tap Man, like YouTube videos. Like
Okay.
I wake up every morning and watch their stuff. So like, I know that's kind of weird, but it's super. Like, if you guys play Call of Duty, you probably know who they are.
Yes, yes. And the
Um,
other cool part is it's cool to hear people say they watch creators that are not things that you see on TV or anything. I feel like
mhm.
yeah, even Chard in the chat room is like those are popular dudes. It's really cool to see a
Yeah,
lot more people doing their own content of things. Like I've actually been thinking of doing home brewing as a stream on Twitch
that'd be
in the near
cool.
future. Yeah, just to show people how you could do it at your house if you're ever
Mhm.
bored while playing obviously music that I like in the background. So, you know,
Mhm.
things like that, even though I'll probably get muted for it on Twitch because it's crazy cuz like I know that you're on solid state, so like there are rules and regulations when it comes to playing your music on a stream or something like that.
Uh-huh.
But it is also funny when I have independent artists on and I play their music and then they flag it and I'm like, dude, I literally got their permission. Like you can't say this is a copyright
It's
strike.
always something.
Yeah, and it's like, come on, leave me alone.
Hmm. But yeah, it's always. I mean, even Tim, the Tap Man, like he wears like fit freaking hoodies in his videos. Like he's a fan of our band, which is super cool, right?
Yeah, that is really
Um,
cool.
but I didn't even know that till like I saw his stream. I was like, okay, like that's freaking cool. But I've been watching a lot of Tim the Tap Man, Nick Merckx. As far as TV shows, I rewatched House of Cards. Have you seen that?
I've never watched it. I've always wanted to. I think that's something that like I have a little bit of vacation time coming up. I think
Yeah,
that's something I'm definitely going to binge.
I rewatched it in like a week.
Did you
The second
really?
time through. Yeah, I mean, I have the time to do it now because I'm at home. Or yeah,
I like the fact that and I'm going to be honest, I like the fact you took some time off. You know what I mean? You were like, "Oh, I didn't play nearly as much," but like and it brings it back to like beating a dead horse, but it's your job. It's your
yeah.
passion, but it's also your job. So when you
I'm
can't
never gonna have this opportunity again to take the
exactly,
time off.
exactly. So it's one of those things where you could like almost refresh and rewind and be like, this is definitely what I want to do, but it's also really nice that I'm not doing anything right now.
Hmm.
And it's given a lot of artists some time to think about what they want to play in the future too. I mean, I'm sure you guys over this pandemic have probably come up with some ideas that you never would have came up with if you were consistently playing and touring. Because now
Right.
you've had a chance to maybe listen to a band you never listened to, or watch a movie you never watched before, and then you get an
Hmm.
idea. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because music's always evolving. I mean, people like a
Right.
lot of different things now. Like I was saying the other night on a stream that I love hip hop. I love rap and stuff like that, but like I can't get into mumble rap. It's not something I'll ever get into. It doesn't interest me. It interests a lot of people. Like you said before, everything's different for everybody. You're going to interpret it
Mhm.
differently, or you're going to listen to it and hear something different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for you,
I was gonna add to that, like, mm, for me, any sort of music or movie that can make me feel something, can make like my ears perk up, or make me sad or make me mad, anything that can make you feel something. To me, that's what's going to sell. That's what's important. Like, it's hard to do that though. You can't, like, not everyone can just, like, if you're at the heaviest song ever, that doesn't mean someone's going to connect to it. But it's the way, like, the lyrics are put together, like with the guitar. That's hard to do. If you can make someone feel something, that's special.
I always feel like when artists do try to write something that resonates, it means a lot more to the fan. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Especially if they can relate to something that you're going through at the time. I mean, some
100%.
some of Kirby's lyrics, I mean, like they're phenomenal and you can resonate with them. Like everybody has a hard time, and especially over
Yeah.
the past year, a lot of people have had a hard time, you know.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. I mean, even when Kirby's lyrics, I'll go through them sometimes. I'm like, hey, what does this mean? This makes sense. And sometimes he'll talk me through it, and I'm like, okay, like, that makes sense. I get where you're coming from. Other times he's like, you know what? I kind of like half wrote this. Yeah, like, let me write this again. But he's very good with lyrics. He's very good with putting down his thoughts to where you can understand them and to where you can relate to them.
I
He's always been good at that.
I also like the fact that I do like when you can barely understand someone when they're screaming. But I do like that he's very audible. You can actually
Hmm.
understand, and he phonates everything,
Yeah, he is
sort of
good at
feeling.
that.
I do like bands where you can't understand too, as well, what they're saying. So I mean, I have
You
that.
like bands where you can't understand, like, their font to their band name. That's how you know they're heavy. The heavier they are, the harder it is to read
I
their
can
band name.
100% agree with that because there's been times where I've gotten a headache trying to figure out what the hell it says as their band name.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think it's an M. I think it's a W or an M. You know what I mean?
But
So
when you can't tell, that's when you know they're heavy.
or yeah, and like the font is all smushed together. You're like, oh, it's
Speaking of
cohesive.
heavy, we've talked about doing a Fifth King did a heavy, like, we did a stream, an album stream, like we played a live show, ultimate, like a virtual concert. We talked about doing another one that was just like the heaviest set that we can make. Just like the heaviest songs. That
That'd
would be
be
cool, I
so
think.
fun. That would
It'd
be
be fun.
so fun.
And like adding stuff that's not on the album, like slowing stuff down, like just being stupid with it.
You know what I think is also really cool is when bands have those interludes in between songs and they're
Hmm.
just jamming and you're like, "Oh my god, maybe this will turn into a song in the future." Cuz I've always thought that was really cool when bands go
That's
into another song and that interlude in the middle of it ends up
yeah.
becoming something else and you're like, "Oh, I remember that. It was a breakdown that they played for just from this song to this song when they played at this
Yeah.
venue."
That's what Wetzel does.
Really?
Every set's different. He doesn't play breakdowns, but it's like there's interludes in between songs, and it's never the same. It's always by feel. He's feeling something. I'm watching his face. I'm like, oh, I know what you're trying to do here. I know what you're trying to do. All right, it's fun though. It's new. It's refreshing. Every show's different.
That must be so fun for you.
It wasn't fun until I got it. It took me 4 shows, and that 4 shows, like, I got you. I know exactly what we're doing now.
That's pretty awesome, man. That's pretty awesome.
Hmm.
So we can finish up here. I'll let you go hang out and talk to your brother. Jared, I really appreciate you coming on, talking about everything, talking about the music, sharing beers with me. As we wrap this up, I like to do the mental health breakdown. What are some things that you can share with people to help them out if they're having a really crappy time? You know what I mean? Because um, I'm a big fan of it. I get anxiety constantly. Uh, it's something not a lot of people talk about. I always say that if you grew up with maybe parents that were like, "Stuff it down, deal with it, be a man." No, that's not how we do things now. You can
But
talk
at the
about
same
it.
token, that's something that probably the majority of us men here. It's like we're
Yes.
supposed to be men.
Yes.
This stuff doesn't bother us. And honestly, this is something I was not prepared to answer, but I have an answer for you.
Perfect.
For me, like this is gonna come full circle.
Okay.
First off, this song here,
Yep.
Settled Down by the 1975, has been a song I've resorted to for a while. It's a song that's like, for me, it's just like I listen to when I'm going through stress. I can exhale, just in and out, and just really try to exhale that negative energy that's bogging me down. And just really try to remember like what I'm trying to do in life and like what my goals are and like the reality of the situation that I'm in. It just really helps me slow my heart rate down. So music is an important thing for that. I'd say another thing would be surrounding yourself with friends who really care about you, like truly care about your being. The people that don't give a shit about you, like they're not going to give the energy to you. They're not going to they're not going to feed you with that positivity. And honestly, when things are going really bad, sometimes your friends can say, hey, like, this is not good. And I hear you, I'm with you. This is not good. You don't need to hear lies. You need to be with people who care about you and try to invest the time and energy into you.
Exactly.
So I would say those are like big things for me. Like the song that I go to, I really like want to invest in the song that like helps me calm down. And then being around people who care about you and invest into you and want you to be better. To me, those are the big things.
I 100% can agree with that. I love surrounding myself with people that appreciate when you reach out and say like, hey, noticed you were having a little bit of a bad day. Is everything going okay, man? Like, or if, I always try to make myself available for people that may be having a hard time. And I know it's not my responsibility, but with my group of friends, I feel like I owe it to them, because if I was having a bad day, I would want someone out of that group to, maybe lend an ear or give me some advice at the time if I'm debating between two things, or you know what I mean? So it is nice to get a fresh outlook on things of you saying like music is definitely an outlet for you, and it's definitely something that helps you. And like for me, also going to the gym has been a huge stress reliever of just going there and listening to music. And as angry as the music is as hard as I'm going to beat the piss out of myself at the gym. So like if my playlist has a lot of angry music in it, you better be sure I'm doing like 90 minutes of
the sauna.
Yeah. Oh, no. That's going to be an extra hour after the 90 minutes. So it's going to be one of those things where I'm there for a little bit of a while. Yeah. Like a psychopath. But
I wish I was the same person when I go through a breakup. Like how that Jared is in the gym is like a psychopath. I wish I was that Jared every day. You know what I mean?
But then again, that you wouldn't enjoy when you're the laid back Jared. You know what I mean? Like it's nice to have those ebbs and flows. You know what I mean? But
you're right.
Again, Jared, it was really awesome hanging out with you. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that we could catch up on the postpone one. And I really look forward to more stuff from Co. I look forward to more stuff from Fit for a King. And as being part of the SJC family. I really appreciate you being here, man. So have a great night. Have a good call with your brother on his birthday. You can say Joe that you don't even barely know said happy birthday. And I look forward to seeing you guys play now that things are opening back up. I really look forward to coming out and seeing you play.
Dude, I can't tell you how stoked we are to play. Like everyone in the band, like the group chat's been going off every day the whole pandemic. So we're all itching to get back to play. I can't think of a better way to end this than to just chug this until you're done.
There you go. I'm in. Wow, we even got some glugs in. We're going to have to sound clip that.
Oh, man. Thanks for having me, dude.
Man. You have a great night. Thank you again, Jared.
Appreciate that. Thanks, man.
Later, buddy.
Later.